everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Sixkiller, president of Magellan Healthcare, and we are so honored today to have Gaylan Hendricks joining us. She has been in the industry 37 years this year. Anniversary coming up in May. Happy anniversary, Gaylan.
Thank you.
For those of you who may not know Gaylan as well, because we all know who Gaylan is, she helped with the industry and really just revolutionizing the options available by designing some of the most key cancer products out there today. So welcome, Gaylan. We're so happy to have you kind of teaching all of us the ropes.
Well, how exciting. It's awesome to be with all of you today. It just goes to show that when you're running late, you can make anything look good. You guys made me look great this morning on a kind of crazy morning. But isn't that what an insurance agent's life's all about? I mean, you never know what's going to drop in your lap or who's going to cancel what or who needs what. So I think we're just all that kind of person. We're just going to jump in with both feet and do the best we can. And, Kim, what's so exciting, you and I saw each other a couple of weeks ago at Medicare Con, and it's always great to see people in the industry who are trying to better things for not only the clients that we have, but also for the agents you serve. So congratulations on that. And congratulations to all of you folks that are attending today. One of the best things that we've gotten to do in the last 37 years, thanks for reminding me. I know some of you aren't even 37 years old, so that is cool too. I like now that I'm being referred to as a legend and not a dinosaur. That always helps the total ego a little bit. But what I have learned in 37 years is that clients need an agent more than agents even realize. And the reason that they need you is because there's products out there that they don't even know exist. And for those of you that are selling in the Med Advantage world, and all of our customers have seen it, it's blasted still to this day. We're not even in open enrollment, and we still see Joe on TV like he was playing football 37 years ago. But the cool thing is that now we have products that we can actually use our credibility factor. And I want you all to remember that terminology today is credibility factor. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up this presentation, Kim. Not that I don't want to see your lovely face, but I want to make sure that everybody sees this. We are going to make sure all of you have a copy of this, so you will not have to take a ton of notes. But I will tell you when there's a write down moment, because sales are not scripted. We never know what client's issue we're dealing with at any time. So as I go through this, things kind of just ring out in my head, as Kim has seen many times. So I will tell you when there's a write down moment, but try to really pay attention, try to soak all this in. This is not a one and done training. So I want to make sure everybody on the call knows we've got YouTubes out there. We've got podcasts that we've launched. We've got a Facebook insiders group. You can go out and follow Queen of the Bundle. You can also check with Kim and see if we can do some one-on-ones, or if there's something you're struggling with personally. She knows how to get hold of me. I want you guys to understand that I'm here for you. And that's one of the most wonderful things I get to do these days, is make sure that you all are equipped to take care of your clients in the best way that you possibly can. So one of those ways is via this lump sum cancer plan that we designed for Aetna. We started talking to these guys back in 2012. They had been writing some cancer insurance, but not a ton. And in 2013, we launched the first cancer plan with them. And then about 3 years ago, we launched what we love to call Chaz 2.0, where we changed a lot of things and made it so much better for our clients. But what we have found out, and I'm going to talk to you guys, first of all, in the Med Advantage world, if you're selling Med Advantage at all, if you even sell one or you sell 101, you need to understand why this cancer plan is so important to those clients. It basically turns their liability plan into a comprehensive plan. So we want to use those terms. So that is a write down moment. You will see that this has got Aetna's name on it, so we cannot use this presentation in selling. However, there are going to be slides in this presentation that are approved that you can use in your presentation. Some are third-party resources, and I'll tell you what those are, and you can use those in trying to talk to your clients about why this is so important. We also have a selling system that we show all agents that's called 30, 60, 90. So many of you are going out there on Facebook and you're seeing a lot of influencers who are wanting to charge you this amount of money and that amount of money to figure out how to do this. Well, don't pay those fees. Use that money for leads. Use that money for brand awareness. We're going to teach you everything that you possibly need to know to add on as much ancillary as you possibly need for your client. And the reason I start off with that is because what I know about your business is that the most expensive part of it is gaining a customer. The hardest part of your job is getting a client to say yes. It's not hard to get a client to say yes to zero premium. It is hard to get a client to understand, though, why zero premium is not always the best solution for them. So when you've got a client that's turning 65, you have a lot of people fighting for that client. So it's really important that you show your client both products that they're going to qualify for at that most important stage of their life, which is turning 65. And a lot of times during this moment, you're able to get a client to understand why it's important to maybe pay $65 for a plan in instead of going zero premium. They can always go back to zero premium if rate increases get too high. The reason you want to talk about this at turning 65 is because of the simple reason that when this client does or may have to cancel one of the policies that you've put in their most valuable, and I'm going to say it, package of protection. That's another write down catchphrase because you're going to hear me talk about scripting that we do when we call our clients back in lock-in. We also call leads back that are not our client because you have already invested money in those leads. So what we're going to do is talk about a pop review with clients to make them ask, what is a pop review? That's the best word you could hear from a client so that you can come back and say, hey, what plan do you currently have? Is it a Med Advantage plan? Is it a Medicare supplement plan? What are you paying for that? And the minute that you hear zero premium or that you know that it's a Med Advantage plan, your next question should be, so what cancer protection did your agent enroll you in? And that's immediately going to get your client going, what do you mean, what cancer protection? Because a lot of times these clients don't realize that they're going to be out of pocket up to $7,550 in a calendar year in those zero premium plans. If they have a give back program, they're always going to be out of pocket $7,550 a calendar year on chemotherapy, radiation, and immunotherapy. And one thing I know for sure, everybody on this call, is that while hospitals have charitable funds, oncology clinics do not. And I'll give you another little tip that I'm not coaching you guys on today, but we can at another time, is that why short-term recovery care is so important to that Med Advantage client. Because of the simple reason that these clients, if they can't afford $30 a month for a cancer premium, they cannot afford $629 a month for their zero premium plan, which basically means that they are going to be out of pocket that $7,550. Again, this is what we hope to teach you guys today. That's just a little flavor taste, but we're going to get right into the presentation. Now, a lot of what you're going to see here is a lot of words. I'm not an insurance carrier. I don't come in and tell you what the product is. I tell you how to sell it. I coach you on what works. When we first designed this plan with Aetna, they were writing right around $800,000 a year in cancer premium. Now we exceed that in a month. Yes, in a month. And that does not count all the dental, vision, and hearing that's being written out there. It does not count all the short-term recovery care that's being written out there. So it's really, really important for you guys to listen. And trust me, for Kim to take time out of her day and to host this for you guys is really invaluable to you all. So the biggest bullet on this page right here, and it's currently in the Aetna brochure, which is approved for selling out of, is this bullet that's highlighted in pink there. 87% of all cancers are diagnosed in people ages 50 and older. Any of you that have heard me speak before, you've heard me just go on and on why it's so important to work the age group 50 to 64. It's because, number one, they can get into these cancer plans super cheap at age 50. And Aetna's philosophy is never to raise a premium on any of the ancillary portfolio. But the reason there's going to be no rate increases on this cancer plan is because this plan is not designed to have any type of inflation attached to it. If you sell your customer a $10,000 plan today, it's worth $10,000 in 3 years. So there is no inflation attached. Also, when a client buys a $10,000 plan and they're diagnosed with cancer, they're going to get a $10,000 check. And they get to do with that whatever they choose to do. So another statistic that's very important on this page is 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women. Those stats have not changed since I started doing this particular type of sale since 1992. So it's very, very important to know your stats. Now, you're going to hear me talk a lot about cancer today and not heart attack and stroke. But the write down moment I want to give you for heart attack and stroke today is that when a client goes through chemotherapy, it weakens their heart muscles. So you will hear me say throughout the presentation that we do have a legacy plan and we have the CHAS 2.0. When we launched the CHAS 2.0, what was so great about that is we only have 4 states that currently doesn't have the CHAS 2.0. But on the CHAS 2.0, you can mix and match these plans. So you could put a $20,000 cancer plan on somebody and a $5,000 heart attack and stroke plan. And what that does is that puts that premium in place where it's really affordable. Now, this page right here is a third-party endorsement. I literally call this the agent conviction slide. Because 9 times out of 10, why your clients don't buy these plans is because, catch this, this is a big phrase, because you don't tell them about them. You don't educate them about them. And you don't feel the need for a dental, vision, and hearing because you can afford $1,000 or $2,000. But a lot of times a $2,000 root canal could wipe out 4 months of your client's income. $7,550 on a chemotherapy, 20% out of pocket on Med Advantage could wipe out 6 months or more of their income. So think about what that would do to your income if you lost 4 to 6 months of it. So that's a write down moment for you to retain that and for you to remember this, because you're not just selling yourself here, although it's highly important for you all to have these products, especially if you're under age 50 right now. A cancer plan is a home run for you. And I always test my sales ability when I'm done with these presentations on how many agents actually sell themselves a cancer plan. We had a girl in our office that did not sell herself a cancer plan, was diagnosed at cancer at age 22. She could have bought $50,000 for less than $1 a day, chose not to do that, ended up with cancer, giving birth, and had to immediately go into a hysterectomy situation. She's now through her 5-year wait period and was able to get a cancer plan on herself. But $50,000 is a lot of money to a lot of people. It's a lot of money to me. So I have a feeling it's a lot of money to you. But look at this slide right here. 5,000 clients ages 18 to 89. If they were to have a homeowners and auto policy, they would file on that 0.04% of the time and 0.06% of the time. And we all who drive in metropolitan areas think they file on these policies all the time because we have crazy drivers. But the truth of the matter is it's not true. If they had a cancer policy, they would file on that 40% of the time. Again, this is stat pool of ages 18 to 89. Long-term care, 70% of the time. So if you sold a short-term recovery care, same thing. Dental, vision, and hearing, this says dental only, but dental, vision, and hearing, that 100% number is way over 100%, because in certain plans in the market, they can file for dental, they can file for vision, they can file for hearing. Final expense, 1 out of 1 still die. Yes, it's true. 100% of the time. So this slide you can use in your selling presentation, but you can also use this slide to convince yourself why you need these plans. Now, the most common objections that you're going to get in almost all of these are, I can't afford it, Gaylan. I've got to check with somebody else. Who's going to pay this for you? And one of those things I always tell agents is, if you start telling me that your leads are not interested, I immediately turn that back on you. And I say, then you must not be interesting enough, because you should have a guaranteed issue dental in your portfolio. But more importantly, if you're talking to a Med Advantage client and they cannot afford a $30 a month cancer plan, then they have no business being in a zero premium plan. And you can quote me on that, because that is a very important thing for you to learn on this call. Their zero premium plan goes to $629 a month if they're diagnosed with cancer in that first year. You ask yourself, how can you say that to somebody and make them understand and still get your zero premium sale? Well, the truth of the matter is it's your job to do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is you're an educator, not a salesperson. And I know we're all trying to meet goals. I know we're all trying to take care of our families, but right is right. And if you lay this out correctly, your client is either going to buy a zero premium plan from you, knowing what they're going to be out, or they're going to want to see a plan in at that point, because they're going to realize that they can't afford that $7,550 out of pocket. But if you have that client that flat out says, hey, I know what you're saying, but I just don't have it, then it's, who's going to pay that for you? Who is that burden going to fall on? And I was that kid that took care of my parents, and I would do that again and again and again. Those of you that have been out there on YouTube have seen my story. My dad died at 52 years of age, and I had to take care of my mom. Then my mom got really sick 2 years after my dad died and got progressively worse. She had the worst kind of rheumatoid arthritis you could have. And I had to sign my life away several times just to make sure she got the care she needed. So a lot of these children would rather pay a monthly premium. So I always love to say, maybe your child would rather pay $1 a day instead of pulling out of their 401k. One thing we've learned about seniors is that they remember things that rhyme. So use that in your presentation. Some of you are thinking, Gaylan, that sounds so silly, but you know what? It works. We wouldn't be writing 800,000 plus a month if these things didn't work. And that's why a lot of the big carriers chase us. They don't have a selling system such as we do. And we've been doing this for a very long time. And success is what makes you successful. So you have to pick up tricks of the trade. Well, this is not a trick. This is education. You hear tricks of the trade all the time in all these selling magazines. I don't like tricks of the trade. I like education. I like sitting down and explaining to clients why this is so important to them. And then if they come back and say, well, I really need to check with my son or daughter, great, let's get them on the phone. COVID did a lot of good for us. And the one thing it did great was teaching our senior citizens how to use FaceTime, how to look at their email, and how to get on calls with you and someone else. And you can set that up for them. And then if they say, well, I really need to check with my spouse, use the one we've been using for 100 years. Do you really think that you have to call your spouse every time you put gas in your car? Well, if your spouse is like mine, they just want you to put the gas in the car. Well, that's more than $1 a day. You're spending what we need from you a month. You're spending more than that in a week just to make your car go. So put some value on your body. Your loved ones want you around. We spend so much of our money insuring objects that we don't insure the people that really matter in this life. Now, some important things to know about the CHAS 2.0, and it's available in all the states listed there at the bottom. You have the 5-year look back on treatment. The legacy plan was 10 years. Now it's 5-year look back on treatment. If they've never had cancer, they're a shoo-in. If they've had cancer, the question is, when was your last treatment? Now, something to remember right here, the basal cell carcinomas that are shaved off, this plan does not pay for those, but that is also not held against your client to get the plan either. This plan is all about internal cancer. It's going to pay on internal cancer, and it's a 5-year look back of treatment on internal cancer. We've talked about the mix and match. The next really important feature here is the reoccurrence benefit. It's already pre-populated in your EAP. Those of you that sell Med Advantage with Aetna may have used the old Ascend. You're not on the SSI side. Don't walk, run to get contracted with Kim and the group there. Get the SSI so that you can start protecting your clients the best you can. We do have the lowest rates offered by a major carrier out there. So if you do spreadsheet sell, which this plan you do not have to, this plan is a sold plan. It is not an enrolled plan. Enrolled plans are your Med Advantage and your Med Sup. These are sold, and the only way you sell plans is by telling people about them. So it's not show and tell, it's show and sell. And that's another catchphrase for you to write down, so you'll be reminded to show this. Now, the plans are currently available in 44 states. Yes, that says 45 because it still thinks New Mexico is thinking straight. New Mexico has pulled these products. I'm going to tell you 3 states you've got to think about. New Mexico is realigning what they think about these plans. New Jersey, you can write this plan over age 65, but they do have to have credible health insurance, which is a Medicare supplement or Med Advantage. If they are under age 65, they still have to have credible insurance, which is an ACA plan or a group plan, which would be Obamacare compliant. In the state of California, they have to have a compliant ACA or Obamacare plan, but California does not allow clients to take this over 65 or older, which is crazy because they have more Med Advantage in that state than any other state in the nation. We are still working on that, but those are 3 states I like to tell you about. The EAP is super, super simple. It's mother's maiden name. It's a security word. And even if you're in the field, you can bring your application back to your office and complete it on your computer. And that way things are not getting lost. All these words over here to the right are words that are secure to that client. None of these are sold in the lead-driven market, which means that the client is totally safe. Also, the reason you should always get a bank draft. These clients forget to pay bills, so make sure you get them on bank draft. Now, the rate sheets are approved pieces with Aetna to show your client. This takes you from 0 to hero in a New York minute. So these are things you guys really need to make some notes on. The first thing I'm going to show you is why you write a client when they're 64 and a half right then. You make their policy effective then. You do not post date it for when they turn 65. The first reason is cancer doesn't care about their age. It doesn't discriminate against age. It can happen in a millisecond. We have had a client in this very office I sit in that was diagnosed with cancer right after he took the policy with us, 3 months later, hadn't turned 65 yet. So if our agent would have post-dated that application to age 65, the client wouldn't have gotten a $40,000 check. So that's the big reason why. The other is that you're going to save them money because this is an issue age plan and rates don't go up as they change brackets. Remember, I told you that Aetna is committed to no rate increases on these plans. But if you look here at 65, that client would be $29.58. But if you write him when he's still 64, you're saving him roughly $5 a month, which is $60 a year, which gives you the opportunity to write another plan to put in their package of protection. Now, another great thing about this plan is the spouse in the house. We trademarked that term a while back because of the spousal discount. We always have to know if there's a spouse in the house to give spousal discount. What happens with Aetna when you put the youngest spouse first, and you literally have to put the youngest spouse first because Aetna has policies that go off the older age. But when you put the youngest spouse first, you get another discount. And I'll show you how that works. My husband just turned 69. So his plan would be $29.58 because he made a great decision by marrying me, and not just because of the Aetna plan, but I am 10 and a half years younger. What happens is by putting me first, now we both get $10,000 for $38.90. So for just a little bit under $9 a month, this client is now getting $10,000 on his spouse and himself. And what you're going to find out in these spouse in the house situations is they may opt to go up to $20,000 or $30,000 of coverage, because a lot of times that spouse does not have any health insurance coverage, because a lot of these folks don't want to pay $1,500 a month for health insurance. So this is the perfect time to get a client in and lock in that rate at a very good premium. The other thing that's great about this rate sheet is when they have children in the house. You never ask them if they want to cover the children. You just add the children on. And here's why. That $38.90, it doesn't matter if they've got one kiddo or 19 like the Duggars. I know we should all figure out how that works, but it happens. And it happens in a lot of families right now. But when you've got 19 kids or you just got one, that $38.90 goes to $40.35. That's why you don't ask if they want the children covered. Another thing you need to know that this is a write-down moment on is that a lot of children from ages 18 to 30, that's when Hodgkin's lymphoma is diagnosed. A lot of college students are diagnosed with that, in matter of fact. And a lot of uterine cancers and ovarian cancers are diagnosed in that age group. So the other thing you need to remember right here, which is another write-down moment, is put down in your CRM when these kids of these families turn 26, because they're going to get a letter from Aetna that says, congratulations, 26-year-old, you now finally get to pay your cell phone bill and your insurance. And here's what happens. That client that's 26 is going to get a letter from Aetna that says your $10,000 costs $5.42 a month. If you, the agent, go back and contact them and rewrite the application, you can write them for under $1 a day for this plan for $27 for $50,000. There's not a kiddo out there that doesn't want to be smarter than their parents. Y'all remember back, y'all know what it was like. Look at this. Their $50,000 is $27.08. Their parents would be $147. Use that in gaining your clients' confidence. These kiddos also might be married now. They also might have families. So it's a perfect time to add that on. I also want to add that the Aetna Cancer Plan goes up to $75,000. These are just pre-populated rates. So a lot of times those 26-year-olds opt to go ahead and buy $75,000 of coverage. Those of you that are in the under age 65 space, you always want to talk about this plan. A lot of them have short-term medical plans. A lot of them have hospital indemnity plans. This is a perfect companion for those plans, but it's even a better companion for the ACA plans and the group plans for high deductible. But you've got to remember how these clients become disabled in the under age 65 market is due to cancer, accidents, and heart, and in that order. Now, these are the legacy rates. I'm not going to spend your time today going over those, but they are in this presentation. So what I like to do right here is really do the KISS theory. And this is where I really say we're going to keep it simple. And a lot of you are going to fill in the blank with stupid. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say keep it simple, sweetie, right here. But on a MedAdvantage client, there's two ways to get your client to believe in your product. The first one we've already talked about is the large out-of-pocket of $7,550, but that's a calendar year deductible. Some of you may be thinking, well, Humana has a $3,500, and there's two things I want to bring up right there. Yes, they do, but it depends if they're in network or out of network. If they're out of network, they're looking at $7,550. The other thing I want to bring up is you can sell this Aetna cancer plan with any other plan. These do not coordinate. So the Aetna plan is a beautiful companion to no matter what plan you're selling. The other thing I want you to remember is that $7,550 is calendar year. So if your client gets diagnosed in June or later in a year, they basically could have another $7,550 out of pocket. So their zero premium plan now just went to $629 a month again in year 2. And that $7,550 is predicted to go up in 2023. So that's another reason to make sure you bring this up. A lot of agents go, but Gaylan, I don't want to add another 30 minutes onto my selling presentation. You're not. When you bring your Med Advantage schedule of benefits out and you're going over the disclosure, that's when you get to that 20% and you say, hey, I have a solution for that. It's going to cost you around $30 to $60 a month to protect yourself against that. And I'll talk to you about that as soon as I get through reading the disclosures. But you've also got to remember when clients hear 20% out of pocket, they do not equate that to $7,550. They do not equate that to $629 a month. And only our government is allowed to bury that way back in the benefits. Whereas agents, we have to disclose everything. It is our job. And so it's very, very important to know that. The other valid point right here is that most of the time the clients are on Med Advantage, they're not traveling. But if they wanted to go to the best research hospital and they have a lump sum plan, they can do that because they can use that money for whatever they choose. The third bullet is prescription drugs. And prescription drugs is where we really zero in on. And prescription drugs is also what sells your Med Sup client on a plan N, F, or G. Now, when you're calling your leads during lock-in, and let's say you didn't get that client, right here is where you can bust out the credibility of the other agent. Now, I always tell everybody this is like the golden rule theory. If you can bust out somebody's credibility, they can bust yours out too. So you always want to make sure you're talking about this. Also, agents will say, well, why would I talk about cancer before I talk about hospital indemnity? And you gave the answer in your question. Hospital indemnity is for hospital. If these clients were in the hospital getting chemotherapy, which very few hospitals administer chemo, in 2020, 2021, we saw most of these clients not even be able to go into an oncology clinic because of their compromised immunosystems. So they were being prescribed oral chemo. Some of that oral chemo falls under their Part B as in boy, but most of it falls under Part D as in David because it's prescribed. So what we want to do is protect our Med Advantage client and our Med Sup client because, hey, we're not out of COVID yet. It's still out there. So it's really, really important. The other question I get asked right here is, where do I start? On a Med Advantage client, we start at $20,000, and on Med Sup, we start around $15,000. Now, here's another slide of why I say don't do hospital indemnity first, and we teach this in the 30, 60, 90 every day. But ACA and Med Advantage are very similar in the fact that they do pretty well in hospitals, as long as the hospital is in the network. So if your client were to go in for a heart surgery and have a $117,000 surgery, the family or the patient would only be out $1,450 in copays. But a lot of times these clients are paying $90 a month for hospital indemnity plans. That's the first plan they're going to cancel. The other no-no is you don't put cancer riders on a hospital indemnity plan, because once they cancel the hospital indemnity, they've canceled their cancer plan. And trust me, that $90 premium is not going to make them keep that cancer plan unless they have cancer, because that's the only way they're going to have any cancer coverage. And the cancer coverage on the hospital indemnity is rather small. So always sell a different policy. That way, when the client does need to cancel something, you can go through their package of protection and advise them what to cancel. And that's also what you leave your client with. You say, look, if you're out $1,450, any kid can come up with $100 a month. Even maybe you could to pay this off. But you're not going to be able to always do that with $7,550 times once times two. So I hope you all understand why in a 30, 60, 90 presentation, why $30 is always a cancer plan first. Now we're going to talk about PDPs. We don't do this twice. We just do it once because it works for both plan types because they work identically, whether it's a PDP or an MAPD. The only difference is one is integrated and one is a standalone. But if you look down here at the bottom, here's a good example of one of your clients on lisinopril for high blood pressure, Zocor for cholesterol, Nexium for acid reflux. Nexium is really the only one that could increase. But one thing I know about living with a senior citizen, and he hates to be called that, by the way, but one thing I know is they know the minute they go to the donut hole. That is not what kills these clients. In matter of fact, this slide right here shows you that the donut hole rarely is the problem. It's the catastrophic threshold. And a lot of agents forget that there's no maximum out of pocket on catastrophic threshold. Clients have no idea what this 5% can be. They do not equate it to these large amounts. If you've been selling senior business at all, you know Revlimid. It is a preventive drug that's given for cancer and a lot of different diagnoses. This client right here could be out $14,461 a year. That's MedSup or MedAdvantage. So, we've got to prepare them for those type of out-of-pockets. So one of the things agents don't always remember is that, yes, these drugs can climb and they can break people, especially in the underage 65 market, but they can also just wipe out a senior savings. Seniors think if they've got $100,000 in the bank, they're living in high cotton. You can see in bullet number 3 what happened from 2010 to 18. That's why transparency in drugs is so important. That's why you see the government fighting. We need to fight harder as agents for that. And if you're not in NAHU, I would go ahead and give a plug right here, right now to get in your local NAHU chapter. But in 2019, you also notice we don't have any 2020 data here, which is when COVID climbed at its highest. But in 2019, Part D enrollees, their average out-of-pocket cost for 11 orally administered drugs was $10,470. That's what we're trying to help clients with because something is better than nothing. For you MedSup selling folks out there, if you are the agent that thinks a plan F, G, N with a PDP is the perfect fit, you couldn't be more wrong. And I stop right there because I want you to hear that. You could not be more wrong. And the reason is this is where something is better than nothing is so evident. This is an example of a client where the gentleman was making $850 a month in Mississippi. He and his wife were common law married. She makes a whole lot more money, reason they're common law. In the house and spouse in the house scenario, she immediately told the agent, this is an agent that didn't believe in cancer plans until this moment. You can't write him. He's got cancer. He's taken Lonsurf. Lonsurf is for colon cancer. It's a very radical treatment. You can only take it 3 months at a time. And that 180 pills is for 1 month. And for that client that's on a PDP, $1,295, not $12.95, $1,295.08. $5,000 cancer plan could have saved this man's life. But the underage 65 client would have pulled up to the CVS health window and would have been told, your amount is $25,000 for a month of drugs. That's what wipes people out. And that's why people don't live, is because they can't afford the drugs that will solve the problem. So it's our job to show them these things. On a Medicare supplement, the other thing that sticks out is travel and lodging. A lot of our agents don't understand what indirect medical costs are. So our clients don't know when you use this slide in a brochure, It's really simple. If it's direct, it means your Medicare covers it, which means your Med Sup will. If it's indirect, it means your Medicare won't, which means your Medicare supplement won't. A lot of these best hospitals out there have hotels attached, but they charge hotel rates. They are not covered on the Medicare supplement. We've given you an example right here of what costs are for clients who are traveling. And I'm just going to give you high level. That's the way I sell. That's the way I teach. I don't like boring you to death. But this would be an 8 to 9 week treatment scenario. And this doesn't include how much gas is right now, because if you see it's $2.50 a gallon on this scenario. It also talks $140 a night for a hotel, which is the discounted rate. It also doesn't have the high cost of rental cars right now. So you're talking a Med Sup client, if they travel together and they fly together, $11,160. If they drive, $6,200. So this is why on a Med Sup client, we start at $15,000. Now, I realize a lot of you are not in the ACA marketplace, but a lot of the clients that you're writing still have spouses working. This is a slide that gives you some high bullet points to remember. A lot of them are buying the bronze plans because they're the cheapest, but their out-of-pocket is $8,150 before $1 coverage. Also, their medications are not required to be on the formularies like PDPs. So you've got to remember what their large out-of-pockets are going to be. The next thing down there is you notice that families with young children need financial stability. These children that are diagnosed with cancer and you write them these type of plans, the parents do not have to choose who's going to be with the kiddos at the treatments. When they spend $1 a day, they're taking care of their family. I volunteer at the Ronald McDonald House, and I can tell you that's a very, very big bullet. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is spouse in the house. We've talked a lot about it, but you want to interview those spouses. That's a free lead for you. That's a way to get a new client that all your other competitors aren't getting. So make sure you use these bullets to inform and educate. Now, quick recap. This is going to keep it simple, sweetheart, for you guys out there. Keep it in front of you. Your book of business is your most valuable asset you own. If they said yes to you once, they'll say yes to you again. Call them. Make sure they're still your client. Just because you enrolled them last open enrollment doesn't mean they didn't disenroll and went with another agent. I heard at the ICMG conference, a lot of disenrollments this year. Also, you've got a lot of Medicare supplement clients out there that might have went with somebody that called them with a cheaper rate like Ascendo, and you didn't realize it. So this is a way for you to get back in there. Again, remember, the more plans you have with a client, the more they're your client. We see bundles selling everywhere. It's all over TV. All of the PNC agents do it. Amazon does it. Netflix does it. But more importantly, if you have a cell phone, you're being sold a bundle every time you go buy a new cell phone. You have to get a new screen protector. You have to get a new case. So do not be afraid to add on to your client's benefit package. This is broken out very simple for your education as well. Now, again, you heard me say earlier, these plans are not enrolled, they're sold. Personal stories are what sell these. If you don't have one, you can use mine. Agents use them all the time on social media. You will be surprised just throwing an ad out on social media what you're going to get when you just ask, who of my friends have been affected by cancer, either by themselves or a loved one? Perfect selling opportunity. You've got to do that. One of our best selling agents had a client buy a zero premium plan from him 3 years ago in the state of Florida. He tried to sell the guy a cancer plan just to have the client call him 3 months later and try to trick him and say, remember when I bought that cancer plan from you? Because the client had been diagnosed. Fortunately, that agent had a recorded call and could show that, but now he uses that story with every client he talks to. You have to start the conversation. Don't be afraid to use the spouse in the house. When you got started, if you sold your very first plan, it probably meant anybody could have sold it. I know, I sold mine. But you're here today because you're good at what you do. And don't be afraid to call those lock-in leads. They're incredibly valuable because not everybody's having these selling sessions like you guys are. Don't be afraid to ask, can you afford your zero premium plan? Remember to talk dollar a day. Always talk about the treatment plans they might have brought with them. These people have to go get treatment before they can claim on those plans. This plan, all they've got to do is file a claim that they've been diagnosed with cancer and they get their money. We're seeing a lot of clients drop their treatment plans to buy these plans for that very reason. They want to hear from you. We created scripting during COVID that got our face-to-face agents selling more of these. Our call centers attach these about 35% of the time, whether it's cancer, dental, hospital indemnity, or short-term recovery care. We're starting to see face-to-face agents climb in the 20s. Very, very important for you to do this. Timing's the key. If you're saving them money on MedSup, don't give them their savings until you tell them you can give them a 2-for-1 special where now they can get a cancer plan and keep the Medicare supplement that they have and be able to get a discount because they can qualify for underwriting. Again, here's my stories. Feel free to use them. That's it for me today. I'm going to turn it back over to our hostess and we'll see if you guys have any questions. We've got about 10 minutes. I would love to be able to help you guys get as successful as other agents are in the country. Thank you for your invaluable attention. And don't forget to go follow us out on Queen of the Bundle.
Thank you, Gaylan. Oh, so many great nuggets today, guys. As you heard Gaylan say, these are so important, not just for clients who are aging into Medicare, but even before. And what I love about this, and you kind of said, Gaylan, is some agents aren't even sure how to start having that Medicare conversation with clients. And this is a great way to ease into the cross sale of the Medicare for the people in your book who aren't there yet. So like you said, starting early, I know I have this plan for my teenagers added in. So it's
and
great.
Scope of appointment. It fits with scope of appointment.
Yep.
So you can always add these in on scope, guys. Here's the thing. You can't sell life insurance and annuities. We all know that. But health plans are all allowed. And these are health plans. And they're paid in cash. So these clients get to do with this money whatever they choose. If you're selling in the dual markets, I want to bring this up. You never want to sell over a $10,000 amount of money in a dual market because it can count against their Medicaid pending or their Medicaid benefits. But as long as you sell them a $5,000 plan, they're going to spend $5,000 on prescriptions, medical, durable goods that they may need, help in the house, and that comes off of their Medicaid application. So, I know a lot of you sell in the D-SNPs and you're worried about that. I wanted to bring that up so that you guys know that. I can do some coaching with y'all if you are selling a lot in that marketplace.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? If you have questions, drop them in the chat. We are more than happy to answer those. Also, make sure you visit us at partnerwithmhc.com. We plan to continue to do these sort of trainings for you all monthly, partnering with our awesome industry leaders. So, Gaylan, again, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I guess that means with no questions, everybody's writing their own app right now.
Right? They're all out there shopping. That's good too, right?
That's right. We love that too.
If you guys have any questions, make sure you give us a call at Magellan. You can reach us at 1-866-779-3553. Again, like and follow the Queen of the Bundle. She has a wealth of information on her Facebook. And guys, we're about ready for our AEP prep to start with AHIP next month. So if you're not selling yet and you're interested, give us a call. We are here to help. Partnering with powerhouses like Gaylan to make sure you guys have what you need. And thanks for joining us today. Thanks again for coming, Gaylan.
You're welcome. Sounds like we need to do a dental, vision, and hearing next one.
Yes, I think that's perfect.
Great. You guys have a wonderful day and enjoy this week. See you soon, Kim.
Bye.